A very good afternoon to all. Welcome to our weekly Tally CA Connect. Our today's topic of discussion is a very useful yet interesting one, that is auditing and analytics via TallyPrime. Our speaker for today is backed by popular demand, CA Monica Chellani Ranka. I'm sure most of you here are already familiar with her. I would like to add a brief introduction. CA Monica is a practicing chartered accountant. She is proficient in the areas of company law, direct tax, indirect tax, auditing and assurance of corporates, non-corporates, including manufacturing concerns and trading concerns. And we are proud that CA Monica is a Tally evangelist. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule. And I think we have 40 people in our audience today. So without further delay, we shall begin. A note to the audience, please write your questions in Q&A so that we can keep track and make sure that all your queries are answered. And the recording will be available in our YouTube channel and as well as community portal. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. So the topic for today is audit and analytics using Tally. Using Tally, via Tally, around Tally, we'll try to use the maximum, usage of Tally. But having said that, this Tally software is just a tool. The more important is how we are utilizing this tool. So we can use the same Tally as accounting tool. The same Tally can also be used as for your audit as well as for analytics. So we are going to look into that perspective, how to use this Tally software both in and around, both via and around this particular software. Having said this, I'll just move on. So this is I start the session with a quote. So the quote for today is, the principal goal of education is to create people who are capable of doing new things, not simply of repeating what other generations have done. Classic example, Tally shifted from Tally to TallyPrime. With this shift, they have made a lot of changes which are very important to survive. So it's the era is for adaptive, agile, creative, inventive, as well as discoverers. So either we need all of these, even one missed out and we will be lagging behind. So as agile as possible, we have to keep ourselves. So we'll start with what is audit. Analytics have similar color, but analytics and audit are not same. So we'll just start with what is audit, since all of us are more into audit as compared to analytics. So I'll focus more on audit. So audit is simply an opinion whether the financial statements, I had taken audit in case of financial statements or any other particular document, whatever is our subject matter of audit, whether they are true and correct. I'm sorry for the typo, true and correct. So the audit is not finding errors. Audit is not about any, we find errors in the process of determining whether, the financial statements or the document in hand are true and correct. So it's just an opinion, and it requires a lot of steps and processes which we are aware. I'm just rushing through because we are aware of all of this. And now pre-audit, audit plan, these are the steps which come in different cycles, but if you see, more or less this is how a general audit or an analytic cycle will be. So it starts with pre-audit, clients KYC, all these information for these particular documents, you can all do it in Tally or use minimal some other softwares and these things. It is possible. So in pre-audit, you want the client's KYC. So if the data has been entered properly, you'll find majority of the client's information in Tally itself. So all these details which are to be obtained, if the Tally has been properly maintained and the details have been entered in, so you will find all of these information in Tally itself. About resource planning, you will need to know the transaction size, the client business size, and the number of transactions, and what is their employment and other details. which if you again go through the data, again it can happen in Tally. To go through the data, you will be able to figure out the size of the client. Similarly, set materiality. So if you just get into the P&L, we know materiality, we have a section, we have a standard itself. So to set that materiality, all the information required is already there, and you can definitely put your criteria in certain of the places. Like for example, vouching and all of that, you can choose your own technique. Just going around and till audit report and audit opinion, all of these points also can be done through Tally. But having said that, it also has its own limitations. It is a set format. So if you want to do beyond it, you have to get out of Tally. But Tally can assist you to a limit where you can export, and you can bring those documents and then you can work on them. So so I would say the best, there's a lot of ambiguity whether through Tally, around Tally, which audit is better. If I would ask the audience here, what would you suggest? Is Tally through audit through Tally is effective, or audit around, outside Tally is effective? Can I please have some answers? Can we have some replies? Tally through or outside of Tally? Which one do you prefer, and how do you do?
Ma'am, if you see the chat.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat. Yeah. So looking at it, a lot of people have replied, and most of them have replied both. I would also suggest the same. This software per se, no, but according to me as well, both should be there in their own proportions. But sometimes Tally itself suffices. Depending on the size and nature of the business of your client, you would know, that the decision happens based on those aspects, not whether the software. So the decision happens based on the client data, the nature of transaction. Then it's probable that you decide. Now, any activity has this main structure. They might have substructures, sub-processes, but this is the basic thing. Everything starts with an input or a source, and such certain process or some procedure is applied on that particular source document or source item, and an output is achieved. In our audit case, all the data and the documents which are available from the client in the client database or client's possession, that we are looking into, we are doing all our analytics, we're doing our audit procedures, and we are forming an opinion. So that would be the output. While doing so, we create something called working papers. So that would be our documentation, or we document our experience for other team to just take it up. So whatever said and done, so this is the basic process which is followed in any activity. It's not just audit. Even if you take accounting as an example, the base document would be, for example, purchase accounting. So the base document would be the purchase invoice which has come, and based on that you will input the entries and you'll get the purchase entry in Tally. And while doing so, you will save this particular purchase invoice in your file for audit or any other purpose. So any process you take it, if we leave the accounting process, now if you have food and you're going to prepare the process, and you're going to, if you're not going to have it immediately, you're going to save it, and if there's a new recipe, you might even note it down. So in any process you take, you will have these particular output. Now my question is, what would be your source? What would be the starting point of this particular, we are talking audit. So what would be the starting point of the audit? Would it be input? Would it be the documentation? Would it be the process, or would it be output? Can I know? There are 4 options on the screen. So which option would be the starting point of any audit? I'm sure all of us do audit. So this question, I think I'll get the best answer. Okay, so I received 2 replies. Both are similar. Supporting documents. Supporting documents is the start of audit, which is the answer I have received. So is this the answer everyone majority agrees? But if you just see it, in my opinion, it's not the supporting documents. You have the supporting documents, but how are you going to determine which how are you going to determine which document, how are you going to do it, what is the process you're going to apply, whether you're going to vouch that document or whether you're going to do a forensic audit. For example, you're going to see any mishappening in that particular document, or you're just going to generally just observe the document, or you're going to prepare some for example, if it's an export document, you're going to prepare a certificate for that. What is your process? I've received one more reply called sample selection and materiality. So if you're going to say sample selection is your start of audit, how are you going to determine your sample? What will be the criteria for determining sample? Okay, I've received quite a few results, not denying any of these, but according to me, output or the destination is the start of any audit. So if we do not know what we require, our entire process, if we do not know where we have to head, then we don't know the route itself. We are going to follow a wrong process or a procedure. If it's a statutory audit, we have to do audit procedures accordingly. If it's tax audit, then our concentration is more on the taxation aspects. What has been disallowed, what has not been disallowed. But when you do stat audit, you need not worry about what is disallowed and what is not disallowed. But you have to worry more about whether the directors have, whether there is any loan taken, whether the Companies Act provisions have been, taken care of. Or if you're doing a forensic audit, then your focus is not on any of the disallowances, any of those regular audit process. Your focus is on checking the documents and checking processes. If you have an internal control audit, then you're not even going to look at any of those things. You're going to look more into the processes, the systems in place. So according to me, the output is actually the start of any audit, because once you know, okay, these are the points. For example, tax audit report, if you tick up all the checklists of that particular tax audit report, you are almost covering majority part of the audit. As well as, now for example, you start with your input, you take your base document, you've done your vouching, you've done all your audits, but when you come to the tax audit report, you realize there are some questions on apparently on the personal expenditure, on capital expenditure, and you have advertising and all of those details which are required in the tax audit report. But you have conducted audit in a generic perspective, because you have not considered tax audit report checkpoints. So what will happen? You will have to go back to those documents, and you will have to redo your entire audit. So according to me, you have to. I thank people who are agreeing to my opinion. So yeah. So according to me, tax audit, the output is the starting point. If you know the destination, you can determine the route based on your source. So anything missing around, and you might not have to revisit, because you're already taking care of what you want. So that is the reason I have this structure. So I'm acknowledging all other points, but still I would say that output. If you start with your output, you know what you want, and then you start right from the beginning. Because based on your output, your materiality, your sampling, all of that will depend on what output you need. If it's just a certification, you will not do a in-depth audit. So your sample size will be much smaller. So the agenda for the day, We have audit and analytics through and around Tally, a few of the sampling techniques in Tally and outside Tally. I'll share both. Verification of balances and audit and analytics features in Tally. We'll do both of it together. I have not added pre-audit workings as well. I'll show you a few reports which will help. And ratio analysis and exception reports, we'll cover a few. And I saw a question on valuation of stock. So I will touch upon that also. There was a question on FIFO method of accounting and stock valuation. So I will touch upon that while we are doing these reports. And last but not the least, these prime features which have come in TallyPrime, I'm sure most of us are aware. But if I can add any input and if I can definitely learn from any of you, it will be really good. So having said that, just let's step right into our agenda. So now through Tally and around Tally, I have put sampling in both. So there are sampling methods in Tally and there are sampling methods which I follow in certain client bases. So I'm going to show you one or two sampling techniques which I follow. And then balance verification, now it is possible, it was possible in Tally RP 9 also, and it is possible. So we need not spend more time in opening balance verification. That happens in a click of a button. Only cases where it does not work fine is where the Tally, the data, the ledger names might have been modified or the groupings might have been modified. So otherwise, according to me, it works perfectly fine. Ratio analysis, certain basic ratios are directly available in Tally, provided the grouping has been done properly. Otherwise, ratio analysis does not work fine if the grouping is not done properly. Audit and analytics features, we'll definitely cover that. Now coming to around Tally, sampling I have taken again, which we will discuss later. Ledger reviews, reportings, and all other verifications which you can do you can just export into Excel, or there are various formats available. You have JSON in case of reports, and you have other formats like comma delimited format and all of that. So you can take it in various softwares accordingly. You can use it in Idea or Excel or other audit tools. Yeah. So let's just, I'll just open Tally. Okay, I'm opening the same data for 2 years so that we can use the analytics feature effectively. But in case you have a continuous data, you can select 2 different years of the same data. But I am selecting because that's how we normally suggest our client to not keep the data as a running data. There are reasons for doing so. First reason would be certain ledgers which may be only yearly basis. You might not use those stock items or ledgers in like of 1 year to another. You may not carry them forward. So if those kind of ledgers, you cannot delete in case of a running data. Second thing, the file size becomes really big, really large, and certain groupings might have to be changed in certain years, which will not be possible if it's a running continuous data. And any error happening in 1 year may get carried forward to other years because of the continuous nature. So it's always better to split the data. It saves both time and energy, and the final data can be stored. So it's always advisable to split the data as and when possible, and not keep a continuous running data. It saves a lot of space. And having said that, let's just start with, I will start directly with the analysis and verification feature. So we'll start with this. we'll start with voucher verification. So we'll start with the first point, which is sampling. So we'll just select the company. Sorry. Yeah. So we'll select the company. We're doing audit for March 21, period ending March 21. So these are the vouchers. Okay. It shows you clearly. You have two methods to do the sampling. Either you choose a complete, a blanket method for all the voucher types, or you manually choose. If you want to do a blanket configuration, you just go into sampling methods, select all. Okay. If you want to do a blanket sampling, then you just do sampling alt B, and you can choose any of the sample methods. Okay. I might choose specific vouchers, or even numbered. Now probably voucher number starting from 17, or we can start from 7. So I'll choose all the even numbered vouchers. Or we can also do random sampling. Benford is not showing here. 1 second. Yeah, in blanket, you're not able to select Benford. This is one, this thing which you can't do in blanket. But over here also, if you select, you can do it from here also. So when I went to master configuration, I could see a lot of voucher types. What does that mean? That majority of these voucher types are not in use in the particular year. That is what it means. That when you see here, you see a concise list. But when you come to the master configuration, when you see here, you see so many voucher types. So these many voucher types are not getting used by the client. You can advise them to delete, to to eliminate confusion. So all these points are just visible in, right in front of your eyes. Now we'll just get into probably okay. So let's just take this. I will do sampling for okay, let's take for sales. So you have to select the particular item, and then only the sampling configurations get enabled. If you do not select, the sampling configuration disappears. So once you have selected, selecting the shortcut is space. If you can see at the bottom of the screen, you will be able to see that what key you need to press to select. So space is universal in Tally. Say space is the shortcut key to select any line item, any voucher, any ledger. So for selecting, the shortcut key is space. So now you press Alt B. Benford analysis normally we choose because the scientific reason of Benford analysis, I don't want to get into depth of it. But if you just read here, this sampling will give all those vouchers of applicable voucher type having highest positive or negative variation as per Benford's method of first digit of transaction value. In this particular software Tally, you have Benford analysis only for the first digit. It does not apply to other digits. So I think 9, the possibility of 9 or multiples of 9 or something is the scientific this thing. But however, having said that, so these are the only two this is the only scientific method available. All others are either random or number based sampling. So this is the only method which is scientific, and based on whether to give you positive or negative variation, you can choose. So let's go for negative. So out of 99, 18 is the sample selected. Now based on your client's risk risk position, you can choose between positive, negative. If you feel in this particular case positive as well as negative, I have received 18 only. So we can just proceed. Now, if you feel that 18 is a very small number and you just that is not a good sample size, then you have to go for other options, like you go for amount range. You want to select from particular amount to particular amount. So to know this, you will have to know the range of the amount. So you might have to go to the sales register, but for going to the sales register, you need not go out of the screen. You can directly go to all G from here, go to the sales register, go to the high-low transaction. If you go to the sales register, yeah. So, sorry. I'm sorry that but there's some system hanging happening. Okay, so yeah. So if you come here, so 1 crore 98 lakhs is the highest amount. But if you see, you can also select like this. So probably you want to select the top 10 in this fashion, where you go beyond 20 lakhs, you want all the vouchers, and the remaining vouchers you want to do sample. So you can select this particular sampling method, get those vouchers, and again change the sampling method and get the other vouchers. That can be done, but only one method at a time can be selected. So once you have done vouching here, if you change the sampling method, the sample will change. So if you want to do vouching in Tally itself, then you have to stick to one method and you can do the vouching. If you're doing around Tally, then you can use 1-2 other methods and take. One more setting which does not come here is the columnar register, and as well as the stock information does not come in this particular report. So what I suggest is that you take the sample. In cases where you can get inside the entry, well and good, but it is not advisable, because accidentally if you make any change in the data, it will go and save the data. And one more drawback of doing so is, when you go to entered by, altered by, your user ID will be shown sometimes as modified, because we just open the data. So sometimes what happens is the entered by, altered by username will be replaced by your username because of opening the data, opening the transaction. So it is not advisable to open the transaction that way. But if you use shift enter, you can see this way, or one more way to do it is alt enter, wherein you cannot make any changes to the data, but you'll be able to see all of the information along with stock items. But having said that, if you're going to do this for 18 entries, it's easy. But imagine a concern where you have around 200, 300 entries, it's going to be a tedious task. So a solution to this is what I would say is export to Excel. So I will export this particular report to Excel. I'm going to export it here. So whether you want narration, I don't want any of this. I don't even want a detailed report. So I will just select the path and we'll just export it. Okay. Yeah. So once this has been exported, what I'll do is I'll go to the sales register. Use go to for quick moving between registers, and I'm going to select the period, I'm going to export it. You can either select Columnar here, or while export, you can select Columnar. So I'm going to do it directly to save time. So I want a condensed report. Okay, so this particular feature has been stopped from this this release. So over here you are supposed to do, in earlier versions of Tally, you were allowed to make this columnar setting in your export setting itself. So if you're using any version before TallyPrime, you can definitely try that out. In the export itself, you'll have an option asking whether you want a columnar report. Yeah, so you select whatever you want in your columns. In case of sales, mostly we do not require the voucher reference number, so we can select it as no, and select. If you want quantity details, you say yes. If you want a detail, you can say so as well. There is one more drawback for that. Let me take a detailed one itself. Yeah, so this kind of, if you just take a report like this, let me just export to the very same file. Yeah, so this was the option. I'm sorry, I missed it out in the last explanation. It is there in this correction. It is there in this format as well. So having said that, just exporting the same file. When you're exporting in the same file, please select this option, update existing file, as yes. Only then it will not replace the file and add a sheet. I'm sure you're aware. This is only for people who are not aware and who do not remember. So it's just a reminder. Please make sure that option is selected as yes. And any setting you did not do in the export screen, you can definitely uncheck or check that condition. So please make sure you check all the options whether you want or do not want a particular item, to just so that after exporting you realize and you're going to re-export, you can might as well use that half a minute in selecting the options. It saves a lot of time and energy when you do it prior. While it is exporting, can we take up a few questions? I see some 5-6 questions come up on the chat. Anything relevant, I'll just take it up. I want all audit reports in a single click, which is ideal software. I'm very sorry, but this particular session is on Tally, and probably a few things which we can do through Tally. So this particular answer I will not be able to provide. Does Tally help in financial consolidation for group companies? Tally does not directly, do consolidation. However, if the financials are prepared in the similar format, if financials are prepared in same, all the groupings and the masters are all done in same format, then probably you can check the, you can do a consolidation, which is not the consolidation as per Companies Act, but at least you will be able to club the transactions together. Provided this will be possible only if the groupings of ledgers along with ledger names are same. For example, if it's advertisement expense here and advertisement expenses in the other data, then it will show as two different line items and consolidation will become chaotic. So, but having said that, financial consolidation of group companies is not possible to track through Tally. Okay, so our exports have come in. Excuse me. So now if you look at it, this particular row, this particular sheet gives me the sales sample, and this is the complete sales, register exported. First of all, first step to do is this stock. If you're going into detailed stock, verification of every invoice, only then please export detailed. Otherwise, do not export detailed, because it's a tedious job to first, get the items, because if you filter, you will not be able to see the voucher information. So your sampling will not be effective. And also, if you try any other sampling technique, again, you will not be able to get the sample. So one simple solution to this, what I do is, I just create a simple if formula. I say if this is blank, or you say equal to this, equal to double quotes. You can either say is blank, or you can say if this is equal to double quotes, then I will select the previous cell, or I will select this cell. I do it as simple as this. It's a very simple formula with which what happens is, I don't do it with date generally, I do it with voucher number. I will again do it with voucher number itself. Okay, so there's a very simple formula. If this is blank, I'll choose the previous cell, or I will choose the current cell. As simple as this formula is, I will just copy paste it to the last cell, and I get voucher numbers in each of the cells. You can cross verify it. I will re-show the formula once. However, this session is not for Excel. However, I will try to show you how I do it through, around Tally. And if this is feasible for you, please do incorporate it. So once I have received this, if you want detailed, is why you have to do this. If you're taking a condensed report, this step is not required. You can directly move to the second one. I will say Vlookup. This is a simple formula. And I will just go, I will select this. You just follow the instruction given on the screen. It gives up a pop-up. So in that pop-up, you will have the details which are required. So it said the lookup value. So I took up the lookup value. Now I'm going to select my range, the table array. So, so which column, which index number do you want? The index number, the VLOOKUP formula is like such that you will have to choose the lookup value should be in the first column. Only then VLOOKUP works. I am aware that this is not a Excel session, but this is a very useful formula and very, very effective. It can be used in multiple ways. So please do utilize this formula. So I will again filter it. Now if you see, can you see certain invoices? I will remove NA, and this was the sample which we chose. If you just filter here and see, I'll filter the voucher number here, the count will match. Okay, 18 invoices, we had 18 in our sample. Okay, the count will match. So this is one way to change your sample style and bring it, and you can start vouching here. So here, what will you, it's very simple to see all the stock items and you can do the vouching effectively. So this is how I do if I do Benford analysis. Now the same register, you don't want to get into Benford, you might have various reasons for that. So probably I do not want to do Benford. I might want to do random sampling. So I export to Excel and I will do random sampling. So this is around Tally. The first option was through Tally, and I actually combined it with around Tally. And this is simple random sampling. And you can just choose the top or the bottom. You can use any formula, or you can just simply filter it. So how are you going to sort it? That is also very important. You select the entire range, preferably if you have the headings, it will be much easier. Yeah, so you select this entire range, go to sort, and sort based on any of the columns. Now I want to sort based on invoice numbers, and then I want to sort based on random numbers. Okay. I'm extremely sorry. For doing so, you will have to first copy paste it as values. Please copy paste it as value and then do the sorting. And you will find that your this thing is done. Always have a copy of the data and then do it. Excuse me. Yeah, I want to do something based on invoice. And the second sampling which I want to do, it is based on So I'll add a level here and I will do it based on random numbers. All these issues come only for where you want to get a detailed stock item. Okay, yeah, so it's just gone up and down. This also you can ignore. I mean, this also you can sort it. But however, having said that, we have received these particular information and we have the invoice numbers. So we can definitely go ahead with this. Okay, so in this now you can pick the top 10 or top 15 as required by you. This is one way to do it. If given to me, I will add some more formulas and make sure that the invoices come first. So you can definitely go ahead. However, having said that, you already have noted the invoice numbers in their places, so you might not have any issue because you have the invoice number in hand. So that will not create any issue for you because it will be right one beside the other, only the order might change. However, vouching is possible. Once that is done, you can incorporate the results in the main file. So this is one method to do it. This is random sampling. The other method which I do is bucketed random sampling. And I strongly suggest how normally I do it. I showed you in this particular file where you have stock. I export another report. When I do it through Excel, I export another report without the stock details. I create the sample there and I just use Vlookup and bring it here. Okay. And so if you want to do in that way, so for example, equal to Vlookup is one formula which we use. I will show this particular formula again. Vlookup, open bracket, whatever value you're looking up. In my case, I'm looking up the invoice value, invoice number. So that value you will incorporate from the table where you're looking up. Now you have to give the system the place from where it should look up. So I'm telling from this particular screen, However, you can't start from here because your voucher number starts from here only. So your first column should be the voucher number. If it's not so, please incorporate, add one column and copy paste the voucher number. Okay. So that is the one more, that's one more major requirement. You can freeze the selection by adding dollars and which column number do you want. So the first column will be number 1. So you can just count. Just for example, I want debit amount instead of voucher number. So I will choose 2 because it's in the second column. From the index is number 1. From index, it is number 2. So 1, 2. If you have any hidden columns, you're supposed to count them as well. Comma, if you want an approximate match, or you can just click on this FX button. It will give you all the details. Now, if you want a exact match, then you have to press false or 0. If you want an approximate match, you can go for true or 1. In our case, we want the exact match. You either type false or 0. Okay. So if you open this FX button, it will become even more simpler because you'll be able to see what exactly is required. So once that is done, once we have selected that, I'm sorry, I selected the wrong. Yeah. If you just see this, you're able to see the amounts. So the criteria for this particular formula is that you select the lookup value, and the lookup value should be the first column in the reference table. So this is called the lookup value, and this table, this particular sheet is called the reference table for this particular formula. So this formula is very, very effective, and you can use this along with the tally exported this thing, and you'll get your detailed sales register. You got your detailed sample. So this is one method of doing it. There's one more method which is called bucketed random sampling. If that method, if you see, this random up to random numbers is same. Along with that, you will create buckets. You will create buckets based on your highest, lowest transactions and other details. To get that particular detail, what you can do is you can insert a pivot table. So this is becoming more of an Excel than Tally, but please have some patience. I will get back into Tally. This is on sampling. I thought I'll cover everything together. That's the reason I'm taking some time in Tally in Excel. So this is the bucketed sample, wherein what I do is, for example, let's go by gross total. I have not done it. Normally what I do, I put the taxable value as a total amount. Okay. So over here, I will create group. Okay. So I open the pivot table. I took gross total in both of the columns, or you can take any other value as required by you. Now I'm gonna group these. Excuse me. Over here, you're able to see that the highest value is 198. So I need not end it here. I know that about 20 lakhs, and when we saw the data, we know that about 20 lakhs, there are quite a few transactions which cover. So you can go on 80-20 analysis, or you can go however. Similarly, I need not start with 903, 9306. I can start with probably below 50,000. I want all together. If you do so, you will get your sampling. Now, sum does not make sense to me right now. So I will just change it to count. If you see, let's have sum also. I will add some more columns of this. I will add this itself again. Okay. So now this will be show value or as percentage of grand total, show value as sum. I will add this again. And I will show this as sum again, and I will say percentage of grand total or column total, as the case may be, since we do not have many. So now if you see, 75% of transactions are falling between 15,000 and 10 lakhs. This is a very bad grouping, grouping set. You can reduce the set so that, we can see a better result. I'll just reduce the set. Yeah. So this is a fairly better set. Now, if you see 15,000, there's only one transaction. So you can also again, increase based on the data. You can definitely make your changes. So I can still go beyond. So, you can go to the level where you need details. Now, if you see below 75,000, there are just 9 invoices. So you can create your sample size here and then just create, go on values and you can create your samples. So this is also one method wherein you can do your sampling. If at all you want to get the details of this transaction, just double click them and you'll get all the details. You can pick your sample from here. So this is one more method to do it. In this, what I do, I create each bucket. I open the transactions and then I do a random sampling. So this is called bucketed random sampling. So if you see in this particular example, 16% of your invoice account for 66%. So you can clearly take around 10 invoices also from this particular range. And you can, from 4, you can pick 1, 3, you might not pick anything, or you might pick 1. Over here, you might pick 4, and depending on your sample size. So again, this fairly depends on what would your sample size be and what is the risk involved in the particular client. So if their controls are stronger, the sample size automatically becomes smaller. The more the control is, happens, the sample size keeps increasing, the risk increases. So as the risk increases, the sample size will have to increase. So accordingly, you can take your call. But this will give a very good picture. In fact, even when you're doing Benford, if you get a sample size which is close by to this count, then you can directly go to Tally and do it. This is also one method. That's why I mentioned it does not matter about what sample technique you're using. It is more important that which technique is apt for the particular scenario in hand. So that is more important. There are various techniques and all are right. If you just look at it, almost all the sampling techniques are right, provided they solve our purpose. So let's get back to Tally now, since we've spent quite some time on sampling. Other sampling methods are pretty simple, so I'm just skipping them. 1 second, just let me look into the sampling. Yeah, so these samples are as they suggest, either you choose all. In case of 4 vouchers, I would go for all vouchers and go. And in case of specific period, if you have, like for example, they have seasonal products or seasonal sales, so you might know that this particular period is where they have the highest sale, or probably this particular period they might have the least, but you want to vouch that way, then you can go for specific period, specific vouchers. So this is based on voucher number, so it is again an even numbered kind of sampling, but based on voucher numbers. So these are the methods. So we'll come out of sampling, but I just wanted to show you one more thing in sampling, wherein after, if you have vouched, excuse me, if you have vouched the particular sample and some alteration has happened post that, okay, if vouching is happening through Tally, only then this option will be visible, obviously. So this particular voucher has been altered after vouching has happened. Okay, after we have selected our sample, this particular voucher has been altered. So that detail will be shown here in the last corner data. And if you want to do the vouching in Tally itself, for example, we are doing this vouching. You can put your remarks here itself. I'm extremely sorry. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So if you want to put the verification status or remark, you can put it here itself. You have, these 4 options. Whether if it's on hold for any particular reason, if you require any clarification, or if there's any observation, and then whatever note you want to mention, you can definitely mention here. So I'll say verified. So once it has been verified, if you come out, you will be able to see that there, the status will be updated. Furthermore, if you come out, if you see verified one invoice, I'll show you the sample size. Now the sample size is only 2% of the total vouchers. And similarly, this verified is only 1% out of it. Out of the sample, only one voucher we have verified. Now, coming to related party transaction, this is not determining, the system will not determine. However, you can definitely, for example, if you have creditors, let's go for probably rent. Okay, so just imagine this particular party. So whether it's a related party, you will select. You can give the client also and ask them to, do it here. And you want to mention the relationship, relationship type. You can also mention that. Yeah, relationship type. For example, if it's like, maybe partner or director's relative, KMP, however, okay, whatever you want to mention, you can mention based on the accounting standard or Companies Act, Ind AS, or whatever be your requirement. Please mention that. You can just export it and take it, and you have your details ready. Yeah. So forex transactions, since there are no forex transactions in this data, I'll not be able to show you about it. However, if I'm able to find another data while we are in the course of the audit, I will, in course of the presentation, I'll definitely take you through. Let's now rush up. This verification of balances, as I mentioned, this is where you do the verification of balances. And F3, okay, you choose the current year company first. Click on F3, click on compare company, F7, okay, and choose the company which you want to compare. If it's the same company, okay, you just change the compare company and you just select the same company. You did not go to compare company. You just select the period and automatically the previous period will be selected as the previous year. Now, so, now when you come to settings, when you come to configuration, any screen, the configuration shortcut is F12. So when you come to configuration, you can choose. Now, when we do opening balance verification, we do it only for non-revenue items. However, if you're doing for the same period of 2 different data, then you might need all, or you might just have to do the revenue. You want to compare the revenue. So you can use this particular feature itself and compare the revenue. You can do variance analysis. Whether you want it in detailed format or, excuse me, whether you want it in detailed format or, condensed, or you want any scaling to happen, or you want any sorting, that can be done. Now, yeah, so this would be the variance. Now I have done it ledger wise. Okay, you can, since I chose the periods, when you select the period here itself, just a minute. Yeah, select the period here itself. Inside, right now you're not able to select the period when you get inside the data, and you'll be able to see the difference. In this particular case, this particular item has a difference of 0.1 rupees. So if I just go for non-revenue alone, other than 0.1, there is no difference. But however, this is group-wise matching. Let's go to ledger-wise. If you see ledger-wise, if you see these particular items, they have been renamed. As I told you earlier, in case of consolidation, if renaming happens, this sort of an error would arise. So this is an example where renaming has occurred, and accordingly, these items are standing as differential values. So this is about verification of balances. How do you verify two different data of the same same period? You press on Alt F10. One second. Yeah, verification of balances, Alt F10. Just a minute. Yeah. So if you want to do it for the same, company, instead of you will have to just reselect the period. This period has to be reselected. Balance variance is where you go, and just come here and select the this particular we are not able to select the other period because there is no transaction in the other data. In Analytics Pro 1920, there is no transaction for this particular period, April to March. That's the reason I'm not able to go beyond this period. Otherwise, you'll be able to select the same period for both the companies, and that will be the balance verification of the same period. It is possible. Let's get into verification of chart of accounts. This particular feature, you can suggest your client to reduce the data, or you can frame your questions. For example, if you have balances and you have no transaction, which means either the party has not been paid, or it might be a bad debt. There can be various reasons. You can definitely frame your questions accordingly. If you come to this particular party, if you see in this from the outside, it was looking as if these are all parties which have balances, and there are no transactions in the current year. But if you just look at it closely, all of these are depreciation ledgers. You can raise one question, however, that has asset ledgers, fixed asset. You can raise one question, however, depreciation entry might not have been passed. But in this case, that is also not the case, which I'll explain later. Similarly, rental advance once paid will be closed. The ledger will be closed only when the rent, when the property is vacated, or as the case may be. Similarly, this is one more thing where there was balance in last year, and the particular ledger has been used in the current year. That is for ledgers wherein you had opening balances. You had balances last year, and there was no transaction which carried through in the last year, and current year you have certain transactions. So those, if you want to just look into it. Now this particular item, this one, used only in current year, which means this either has been used, created fresh, or it would have been not used in the previous year and used only in the current year. So it would have been created earlier and not used, or freshly created. So these particular invoices you can definitely check around, check and see whether any new ledger has been created, any mistake has happened in ledger creation. All that can be checked in through this option. Only balances, no transaction, which means the previous year also there was no transaction, the current year also there is no transaction. which means it has been unused for 2 consecutive years. The ledgers have only balances. In this particular case, we do not have any such transaction, but you might have any debtors which you might have to create provisions as per the act. So it is mandatory to create provision if it's if the ledgers are not settled for a long period. You have to create provisions based on your materiality and the expected receipt. So based on all of that, provisions, but however, have to be created for bad debts. So this could be utilized for doing that. Now, this item accounts squared off during the year. So you can definitely check up whether the squaring off has just happened by transfer or what has actually happened. So if you find any suspicious ledger, then you can just get into the ledger, press F8 to show the ledger, and you will be able to see all the transactions. If you see all are bank payments, so mostly it will be right. Once you do bank verification, you will be able to. This is ledger review through Tally. Same ledger review we do outside Tally when we export the we export the entire ledgers and then we scrutinize the transactions. It can be done through Tally also. You can just put your verification remark, whether it's verified or on hold or whatever be the case, and you can put your remarks. For all the the duties and taxes ledger have been closed majority if you see in this particular case. So this is a very good, this is actually an exception report, but we have it in the audit and analytics feature, and it is extremely helpful in a lot of cases. So now if you see this, not available in current year. So this particular ledgers were available in the previous year, but not available in this year, year. So these ledgers, we saw one of the example where this was renamed or there was some correction made. So all this you can check and update. This labor work is an expense ledger, correct? So expense ledger may not be carry forward again. It might be renamed or as whatever might have happened. So you have to take decisions and frame questions accordingly. So every mishap is not a genuine error. I mean, genuinely done mistake. It might be an error as well. So before framing the questions, be very careful to analyze, and it can be a small, error or a small omission. Coming back, this is verification. Similar to chart of accounts, we have stock items is the same. So I'm not going to take much time into it. It is more or less the same. Stock items which have not been used in the current year, if they are not going to be used, please ask the client and you can delete these stock items. However, you cannot delete it. You cannot delete any stock item if there is even a single transaction or balance into it. Even if there's a single transaction, for example, if I want to delete this, you cannot delete from here. However, you can get inside the transaction and you can delete it. Now, since there are no transactions, it will delete. Even if there is a single transaction, let's get into stock which I know has transaction. Yeah. So if I want to delete this, oh, sorry, not used in current year is what I'm saying. Okay. But if you are going to delete any item or any ledger which has a transaction in it, it will not delete. So if your ledger, voucher type, stock item or anything is not getting deleted, probably it has been used in the current year. That will be the reason. So let us now see about repeated transactions. We are aware that transactions such as rent and a few other telephone charges are repetitive in nature. However, certain expenses such as, for example, fees, if it's a one-time fee, you will not have repetition. So any such transaction which have been, which are repetitive in nature, you can just check the count here and you'll come to know if all the transactions have been accounted. If you see rent, 12 transactions are there. You just open and see if April and March have been accounted. Your work is done here. So 12 transactions of 7,000 each has been done in rent. Similarly, salary advance. Now, salary advance is something which should not be repeated. You do not give advance every month, ideally. So what kind of a nature this is, you will have to check. So if you just go to show ledger, it might be that the salary has been recovered. It can be possible, but a 10,000 amount getting repeated every month, you can definitely ask why this is happening. So this might give you a good insight. Again, you can do F12, and you want particular range, you can do. So you will have a lot of configuration settings in each of the screen. Also, if you want to move between reports, you need not go out. If you notice, I was going out and coming in. I was doing so that you know which section the details are. However, you can get these reports from here itself. Verification of balances, verification of chart of accounts. You can go directly from here. You need not go out and come. Additionally, all G is also a savior. So you can do that way as well. Ma'am, how much time do we have left? So accordingly, I'll proceed. Ma'am, can I know how much time do we have left? Excuse me. All right, let's just proceed without wasting any more time. This transaction on holiday, this works only, this you will have to set up holidays in Alt Q. So you set up your list of holidays, and then any transaction that has happened during a holiday, you can definitely question. Now, for example, Sunday office does not work. How come there are so many transactions on a Sunday? You can definitely raise a question. So such questions can be raised. Highest and lowest value transactions. Now, for example, if you take rent as example again, you will not have much of variance. So the variance should be much lesser. But if you see any sales, it can have variance based on the requirement. Now, if you have a particular party selling only a particular kind of product, then you will not have much variance. So accordingly, this can be used. Stale checks. So any check which is stale will be shown here, and you can definitely ask them to reverse those transactions. Any sales check have to be reversed. So that can be seen from here, and you can definitely set 3 months is the time limit. But if you want to set a different period, you can definitely set the validity period, because every they've made it very uniform, I mean very generic, and they've given you option to select your own validity period. So you might not have check, you might have something else which you are doing in banking setting. So all that can be verified here. So we've done with voucher verification, data analysis. Other things are fairly simple. Fixed asset analysis, whether there are any addition, deletion. We have this no period of usage beyond 180 days, less than 180 days. All that will come from this report. You can just export it and utilize this particular report for your tax audit, the fixed asset register. So this will be very useful in those scenarios. And you can always save view. This is the feature which I was talking in the last segment of my this thing about save views, and you can save this particular view. So you can say, FA tax audit. FA additions tax audit, probably we can say that. So you can create a working paper probably. So WP 010 or however, FA additions, you can say tax audit. So this is one working paper file. Whether you want to set this as the default view, you can do so. Whether you want to show additional configuration. Now, now this particular option, save view for all companies or this company. So if you go for all companies, that is system specific. So whichever system you're on, in any company you open, you'll be able to see this working paper, this particular save view report. But if you say this company, then this particular company you open in any system, you'll be able to see this report. That's the difference. Any other, if you select this option, any other company you open in this tally along with this particular data also, you will not be able to see this view. So I will select this one for my thing. Whether you want to save with the selected period. Now, since it's the tax audit finalization time now, so let me just say, I will do it for March 21. Okay, period ended March 21, and I will say yes, save it for this period. So every time I am not able to, one second, too many things on my screen. Okay, the period has been selected wrongly. However, now any company I will open, I'll just go to all G and you'll be able to see my working paper. Like that, you can have all your working papers arranged in sequence, and just tell your audit staff or any sub staff to just export them in this view. For example, TB, I have my trial balance that, I wanted ledger wise. So I have kept trial balance ledger wise. I have also kept trial balance group wise expanded to all levels. However, even if you expand the trial balance to all levels, certain groups do not expand on itself. Why that happens? Why do certain groups do not expand? If you see now, for example, in this case, trade receivables is not expanding. I have to manually go and do it. The reason is, if you press Control Enter, okay, excuse me, group behaves like subledger. If this particular item has been selected as yes, then this group, being a group, it behaves like a ledger. So that's the reason it does not expand. If you, the moment you say set no to this option, you will see that, without doing anything, I will go back and I will now say group wise expanded. If I go to trade receivables, okay, if you see, without doing anything, the the group has already expanded. So so this is default. By default, this group behaves like subledger is set to yes for trade receivables and trade payables, but you can always select them as no, and you'll be able to get a detailed report without manually pressing shift enter. So this is about save views. You can use it in various ways. Now, for example, you have created a report. Now, in my case, I had created a report with a wrong period. So how do I delete that? So I will come to settings. I'm sorry. One second. Yeah. So I will come to, I'll come to troubleshooting. I will say delete views saved for this company and probably this company. I'm sorry. This is for settings to delete views saved for that company through overall. Now I want to delete views saved for all companies. So this is for all. Now if you want to delete one on one, okay, you can either delete all or you can delete one. You cannot delete multiple together. Okay, that is how it happens. One second, I'm so sorry, I missed that option out. One second. One second. Yeah. So if I just go here, I missed out the place where it's done, but it is there. It is possible. Delete saved view. I will just get into it and get back to you, but it is possible. Komal ma'am, if you can help me with this particular option, I am right now not able to see. This is for deleting all the views. However, there is an option to delete one of the one single report. If someone can help me out, it will be really good for benefit for the others, because I'm not able to see the option right now. However, let's just proceed. We'll answer that question a little later. Since I'm running short of time, I'll just proceed forward. Ratio analysis is fairly simple. If you just open this, you'll find a lot of ratios. If you just get inside, this is by current assets is to current liabilities ratio. If you just if you just divide and see, you will get that ratio, exactly. So these are the entire list of ratios which are available. So these are the basic ratios available. However, if you want, if you want any other ratios, you will have to take it out of Tally and then create your own ratios. Now, when I said pre-audit working papers can be done through Tally, now this is the place where you can start your audit from. Statistics. This gives you the company's, the structure. It gives you the skeleton of the company. So how many transactions, how many ledgers, how many groups, what and all they have. Based on this, you can also, if you see this particular company has a huge turnover, but invoice, if you see, the count is so less. In fact, all put together, it is only 4715 transactions, out of which stock journal covers 70% of the transaction. Now imagine you deploy a manpower of 10 people for this company. Will it be worthwhile? But if only you should have seen the stock journal, if you have seen this particular statistics, you would have come to a conclusion, probably 2 or 3 itself is more than enough. So you can deploy your audit staff, you can devise your team, you can also quote your audit fees based on 2 reports, one is sampling and one is P&L, and you can easily get a lot of insight from this. Now if you see in this particular this thing, you have 67 voucher types. So if you just get into it, certain voucher types are already there. So if you remove them also, 67 is the count. Why so many voucher types? You can definitely raise a question. If any voucher type is just idly standing there, you can definitely delete them or advise the client to clear their data, which will in turn these are all small points which add value, and these are all quality enhancing points. So very simple. Simply, you will be able to see a lot of reports. You just get inside, you will be able to see all transactions month-wise. Now, if you see receipt, since this is receipt, but if you would have considered this to be any other expense, why only on 2 months? There are so many transactions. However, the count is the variance is less. However, you can raise questions based on that. So statistics, I would tell you, and if you have a comparable company, you can just create. So for me, I have the previous year company. Now this gives me an even better picture. So I have the balances, and now if you see the, excuse me, if you come to sales again, let's go to sales again. Now 156 transactions, bills from last year has become 99. This is okay, but it has gone down. Normally sales goes up. So is there any business which has been hit? They might have reasons. Now COVID was one of the reasons. There might be various reasons, but this you can raise a question. Now if the variance is too high, then probably the nature of business itself has changed. Like if from 2000 this became 99, then the variance is huge. So probably they shifted from a retail business to a wholesale one. That could be also a criteria. So there might be various reasons why, but to ask the question, we need to have the right data and the right question. So that can be done. So this point, if you generally ask the client whether the nature of your business has changed, according to the client, nothing has changed. He's selling this particular client of mine is selling jewelry and is still selling jewelry. So they will say no, nothing, no nature, nothing, no change in nature. But if you see carefully, and if the nature is such that from 2000 the invoices have come down to 99, there might be highest probability that the nature has changed from a wholesale trade to a retail one. But if you, in layman's language, there is no change in nature of business. So all such things can be seen only when you compare, and you can definitely export it to Excel and take it in Excel, find the variance, and take decisions accordingly. You can also set your sample size also accordingly in the first stage itself. So this is the place, statistics. In this particular place, outstanding is where we get aging. So the same statement of accounts, outstanding, or you go from ledger, this thing is where you get aging. For example, we want aging for bills receivable. So I would not go to receivable, I'll rather go to sundry trade receivables. Okay, so now if you see here, this is my default. I have saved this view and I created this as my default view, but this is not what you will see. You will see it as a yeah, this is what you will see when you see in general view. So to do this view which I created, what you will have to do is, yeah, so yeah, so one second, if you go directly to outstanding.
Monica ji, I think we'll have to conclude soon.
Yeah. Give me just 2 minutes. I'm done.
Okay.
I just wanted to show this. Yeah, this is how you will see. So once you go to aging, so F6 you press, and you want to either do it by bill date or due date. All this will work only if all the details are captured in their respective places. Like for example, when you do bill wise, you have a due date over there, or you create a generic due date. If you capture that, it will work perfectly fine. So 180 days and more is what I want. So accordingly, I will have this report. What I did was I had saved this report. So I created one more report. I created a save view report, and every time I wanted, I made it ledger wise, and you are getting your trade receivables. This is the paper you want for trade receivables, and you just got it in a click of a button. This is about aging. There are a few exception reports. I will just touch upon them once. If time permits or in any other session, we will do specifically on these exception reports and other reports which are hardly touched. Since this was a generic session, I chose to ignore, not venture deep into it. So now if you see, these are all the negative ledgers. For example, this is accumulated depreciation ledger that's having a credit balance in a FA group. So that's why it is all throwing out. Similarly, GST is a debit balance in a liability ledger, liability group. So it is throwing all these transactions, and any transaction where you want to venture into, you can definitely see. So these are the exception reports. You get exception reports also in each of the reports you are seeing. One second. For example, I'll go to P&L. P&L related exception reports you'll be able to see here. Okay. Similarly, I go to any other place. So whatever related to that, if you go to change view also, you will be able to see. In P&L, you will not be able to see much. But if I go to any other, probably a ledger, you will be able to see. If I go to change view, I get a lot of views which I can see. I can see bill-wise breakup, or if I want daily, you want movement analysis. And if you go to show more, there will be other reports which you can see of this particular ledger. Similarly, exception report of this particular ledger type you will be able to see. So if there is any purchase order, sales order, and various other exception reports. So each of the place, please explore these two options, the change view and exception report. And this Alt S is contact. Please, and you can enter the contact details of that particular party, including their, uh, address, but the contact details can be updated over here. It is advisable that you tell the clients to update the contact numbers. So for any external external confirmation, you can get their mail ID from here. If you want to directly obtain an external confirmation, you can advise your clients, or in your own case, you can advise to do all these small changes. And please explore F12 option as well. There are a lot of features where if you enable them, you will be able to see better reports and your audit will be more effective. Thank you.
Should we take up questions from Q&A? I think most of you've covered already. So,
yeah.
So we could, yeah.
Sure. Can you list out the questions, ma'am? I'll answer them because most of them I think.
Exactly. So I'll just read out all the questions and you can mention if those are covered. So first one, I think we have already covered how to adopt FIFO method of accounting.
I'm so sorry. I actually missed that out. I'll just show it. I'll just take a minute's time. Can we do it in the last? We'll answer the other question.
Sure. Okay. Does Tally help in financial consolidation for group companies in multiple business verticals?
No, this I've already answered, ma'am. This cannot be possible.
Okay. How to delete unused voucher type?
Okay. This one also I will just go. You go to alter. Okay. Alter master voucher type, or you go from statistics from any place. Okay. Wherever you are able to access the voucher type name, you go from there. If you're anywhere else, for example, voucher verification, or you're there in the master sheet, or you're there in statistics, you press Control Enter to that voucher. Or for example, in this case, I think, yeah, this voucher may not be used. Okay, just go Alt D and you will be able to delete it. Provided it will only delete if there is no single entry. There should not be a single transaction. Only then you will be able to delete them. You can also delete it from statistics. You just have to press Control Enter, go to the voucher creation sheet. From statistics, you can just select and delete it. You need not even get inside. You just select that voucher and say delete. Alt D is the shortcut to delete. Yeah. So I hope I've answered that. Ma'am, can we move on to the next question?
Does Tally support Schedule 3 balance sheet?
In essence, if you take it theoretically, it does. But if you want to get into depth, it does not. The latest Schedule 3, no. But the basic structure of Schedule 3, yes, you can get it.
Okay, moving on. How many companies can be consolidated?
You can consolidate as many companies as possible. There is only two criteria for that. First criteria is the entire accounting structure, the groupings, ledger names, everything should be the same across all the data. Okay, that is the first criteria. Second criteria is that you will only be able to add. You cannot do this inter group adjustment. That all has to be done manually. Only the consolidation together happens. However, having said that, you will have to manually recheck it. It will only add up. Some places it does not. Even if one grouping goes up, down, accordingly the values also will change. Because just imagine you have trade receivables and the same party, okay, the same party is a trade payable for another company. and one more data or branch, whatever be the case. For the other data, it is a trade payable. So you will sometimes see that this balance is added in trade payables. Same balance of the same company is added in trade receivables also, because it is grouped as trade receivables elsewhere. So this is one issue which is there. So consolidation can happen with as many companies, provided you do these steps.
Okay, thank you. Next, how to display bank details in receipt voucher.
How to
Display bank details and receipt voucher.
bank details in receipt voucher. If you're talking in voucher verification screen, you cannot do it. But if you're talking in any regular receipt voucher, you just press F12 and say show bank details, and you'll be able to see. I'm not understanding the question very clearly, whether it is inside the voucher or is it just to view the voucher. So if it's just to view the voucher, I've answered. But if it's inside the voucher, then there are other things that you have to do.
Next question, is there any feature to bulk import invoices in Tally?
Bulk import invoices in Tally. Yes, there is. You have this import function. From where you want to import is the question. If it's any format supported by, by Tally XML, Tally supports XML. If you get your report in XML, then you can definitely import. But from where are you planning to import is the question. So the option is right on top, import option. Yes, ma'am. Next question, please.
Yeah. How to perform opening balance check through Tally rather than doing it manually?
I just showed that. We can skip this question.
Yeah. Is it possible to take into account trade discount while calculating closing stock value at cost price in TallyPrime?
Sorry, trade discount at?
While calculating closing stock.
Okay, it is possible, but the explanation will not be possible now, but it is possible. Yes. Trade discount as such ledger value, no, but there is a workaround you can do.
Okay.
Yes.
How exporting columnar format takes a lot of time. Why? Not clear on.
Columnar reports takes a lot of time because it has to export a lot of details. Otherwise, if you just export regularly, any value, it will just show in 2 columns. But when you export columnar, you have 10 columns for the same values. So that's the reason it takes a lot of time, because the format, everything has to come in.
Okay, ma'am, I think just the other
so the
questions.
First question, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So over here, I'm in the stock summary report. Just go into valuation, F8. Okay. Select the method of valuation, and you will find the valuation. So if I want to check whether the valuation has been done properly, what I'll have to do is I'll just have to make this as default and just continue. If you see my valuation is right. If I change the method of valuation, then probably we'll be able to see any difference. But in this particular client case, they do one-to-one selling. So you will not be able to see much difference. But if you do it in any of your client, you will be able to see the difference. So any valuation method you want, you can take it based on that method from here. I hope I have answered the questions. And with the limited time possible, I tried to cover as much as I could. I really apologize for any errors which has happened while talking. And I really thank you for your patience.
I think I think it's already 3:40. The session was amazing, Monica ji. You have covered so many topics in such a short span of time, and I can see the questions keep on pouring. So I think today we'll have to put a pause, and on public demand, I'm sure we'll have you again. So as and when you're free, we'll discuss that. And to the audience, thank you for being so patient and writing to us. You can always write your topics or any topic you want to learn on, give us feedback here. Thank you, Monica ji. And I can see some people asking for the recording. The recording will be available in our YouTube channel, Tally CA Connect. And also, you can log into community.tallysolutions.com. All the videos of Tally CA Connects are uploaded there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Monica ji, once again.